I don't know what this may fall under, but I definitely know it was one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me since I was a child. For context, I was roughly around 7 or 8 years old. Me and my mom, both my aunts, my uncle, as well as my grandparents lived in a 3-story house in a nice middle-class community in Riverdale, Illinois. The community was named the Pacesetter. It was starting to become a diverse community, but some of the residents wasn't fond of change, so they started placing posters on stop signs and on their homes saying, "We're not leaving." But that's for another story. Anyways, we had a small front yard with a big evergreen pine tree that was at least 8 feet from the front door. Now, there was a little walkway that led to the right side of the house that was at least 15 paces to the side door, and another 15 that led to the backyard. We had double sliding patio doors, so from the doors to the wooden gate, north and south, was approximately 20 feet. From east to west, it was a good 25 feet from the small metal fence to the wooden fence. There was also a small 8x6 wooden storage shed on the metal fence. There was a 5-foot gap between the shed and the 10-foot wooden fence. This is all important for the story, so please bear with me. Now to the strangeness of the story. I remember that they were these big crab-like spiders with a leg span of 3 feet and a body mass the size of a soccer ball. I remember this because me and my friends were playing hide and seek. I was planning to hide on the side of the shed to not get caught. I was running so fast looking behind me, making sure I don't get seen, when I looked in front of me and almost ran into it. I know that I breathed on the damn thing and it still didn't budge. These things were huge and everybody in the neighborhood feared them, at least the kids. It had the exoskeleton similar to that of a king crab. These things even had the speed of a brown reluctant spider. Their movements were rather weird and off. They even created webs like an actual spider, but was way too large in stature to be considered as such. It's almost like they didn't look normal. But we all went on with our business as usual. One day, in the summer of 88 or 89, I was leaving that morning from home. My friend came to my house so we can leave to meet up with other friends at the park for some baseball. We noticed that there were guys in white suits with respirators, almost like hazmat suits, trying to collect the crab spiders out of the pine tree. There were at least 4 guys in the front yard and 6 guys in the backyard. There was also a guy that I think that was in charge, with a blue navy windbreaker, with a white dress shirt, red tie, brown slick back hair, dark blue eyes, black slacks, shoes, and an ID badge clipped to his jacket. He had to be in his early 30s from what I remember, but I can't remember his name or what company he worked for. I said hi, and I also remembered he was asking me questions. I didn't have time to answer because my grandmother pulled me in and told my friend to go home, but from what I remember, he was still standing there being questioned as the door was closed. It all happened so fast that I was confused about my whereabouts. I tried to ask her what was wrong, and she said, "Be quiet, stay inside, and don't talk to anyone." I tried again, but I was silenced, so I just left it alone and did what I was told to save myself trouble. What I did notice, before I went to my room, my aunts and uncles was looking outside the patio doors secretively, almost like they weren't trying to be seen being nosy teenagers. I came down about 3 hours later, and it was like it never happened. I tried to ask my grandmother what happened, but I was shunned out of a reply. I even later that day asked my friend, and he was cold about the matter as well, which was all very strange to me. We never even seen the spiders ever again. I still to this day question whether this was real or just a dream, but I assure you all that this was very real. Me looking back at it at that moment scared the crap out of me. only because one of the questions I remembered the man asking me, did the specimen ever bite you? I always loved camping. That's why I agreed as soon as Neil asked me to go with him and the rest of our friends. I figured I would bring my camera to document the trip. After all, it was our first camping trip since Neil and Eliza got married. I figured it would be fun, a nice vacation. We left at 4 in the morning to get to the state park and hike around to see the waterfalls. I made sure to bring extra batteries for my camera. The battery always seemed to drain dreadfully fast. We got there around 7 a.m. and after 3 hours in the back of a van with 5 other people, I was ready for the hike. I put my battery in my camera, eager to get to the waterfall. As we all exited the van, I noticed there was only one other car in the entire lot. That's strange, I said to Neil as he unloaded our bags. It's just the middle of July and no one is here. I looked around trying to spot at least the park rangers. It's 7 in the morning. What do you expect? Mary said, handing me some bags to carry. We started on our way to where we would set camp up. I was looking up around all of the trees. The big ones felt miles high. That's when I noticed a man. It was a tall man. He had a slightly round face and those big round glasses. He was just sitting there in a tree. I watched him for a moment as everyone shrugged forward before my curiosity finally got the better of me. "Hey," I yelled, staring up into the trees. The man seemed startled before letting out a laugh of pure relief, a pleasant laugh, the kind that made you smile. He began climbing down, which didn't seem hard for him at all his given height. His feet hit the ground and I started looking into his bright green eyes, feeling myself smile just by looking at him. He was pleasant and had a kind face. Sorry about that. I get caught up into watching birds that I didn't even hear anyone come by. I apologize for startling you. He let out another pleasant laugh. That's when I noticed his binoculars and a little journal hanging out of his pocket. A bird watcher for sure. "It's okay," I said, trying to return his warm smile. "Are you a photographer?" he asked, motioning towards my camera. "Just a hobby," I replied. He struck a pose and I couldn't help but laugh as I aimed my camera right at him. Click. "That's gonna be a good one," I said. "You'll have to come back and show me. Looks like your friends got a bit ahead." I looked down the trail. Shit. I laughed as I ran to catch up, glaring behind me at the nice stranger. I finally caught up with them at our first waterfall and the one we would be camping at. I began taking pictures. How couldn't I? It was a marvelous sight. We spent the rest of the day hiking and setting up camp. We even built a nice campfire to keep the bugs away when the sun went down. As we gathered around the campfire, I decided to look at all of the photos I've gotten. I was specifically looking for the one of my stranger. Battery's dead. Damn it. I changed the batteries and I took a shot of the group around the campfire to make sure everything was in good order before taking my seat next to Mary. I started cycling through my photos. I stopped at the one of my stranger, his warm smile and silly pose looking back at me as I smiled down. I clicked onto the next picture, then the next, then the next. It was the picture after that something caught my eye. A glare? A reflection of something shiny maybe? I zoomed in. It was my stranger, right by the waterfall, smiling. But not his warm, pleasant smile, a crooked, unusual, wild smile. His glasses were crooked, and it felt off. Why didn't I see him when I took it? Where did he come from? I kept going through my photos. He was in the next and the one after that. Each time closer, but with the same smile. But now his glasses were gone, and his eyes were no longer green, but they were wide, but a milky brown. I stared in disbelief. I clicked on the next photo and saw all of my friends sitting there by the very campfire that we made. And there he was, appearing from behind the nearest tree. I yelped, dropping my camera. I frantically ran to the tree, yet there was nothing, not even a footprint. I was shaken. What happened to my stranger? Was he just a crazy stalker? But he was so pleasant. I did the best to shake my nerves, but I had already freaked out the rest of my friends. They told me to go to bed and they would keep an eye out for anything that's strange. I listened. Dear God, we should have just left. Why did I listen? I woke up the next morning and something immediately fell off. It was so quiet. I chalked it up to the early hour. I left my tent to find my camera next to the campfire where I had dropped it. I picked it up and took a photo, worrying about the damage I had caused. I looked at the photo. I saw them, every single one of them, my friends, the people who I thought were sleeping in the very tents that surrounded me, but it wasn't them. They all shared the same crooked, wild smile with round eyes almost bugging out of their heads. I dropped my camera again and tore through their tents, desperate for them to come out and tell me it was all a big joke. I found no one. I picked up my camera and I ran like hell. I didn't understand what was going on or happening. They weren't there, but they were there. Their smiles surrounded my vision. I ran past the only car in the lot straight to the van. I looked at the woods once more before peeling out of there, sobbing the whole entire way home. I look at these photos to this very day. I'll never take another photo with that camera. Never again. I know it sounds impossible, but I know they are stuck in there now, forever haunting me with their smiles and eyes. In every background of every memory that they will be there, watching me like a rare bird. I still cry for them, for the memories that they never got to make, for my strangers whose name I will never know, whose warm smile and pleasant laughter never to be seen or heard of again. Board games are fun, aren't they? My favorite was always Monopoly, which took forever. My family would rarely offer to play with me due to the duration. However, they offered last week. I was so excited to play it again, considering I'm off to college soon and I really wanted one last go. As I set it up, I thought about all the fun we'll have in that night to come. I was more than wrong. I continued to set it up and I noticed something. One die was missing from the box. I began to panic, looking for it all over the box, but to no avail. The die was nowhere in sight. I went back up to the attic where we kept all the games. There, I found a lone die sitting in the middle of the room on the floor. It was black and labeled with various images: a smiley face, a bullet, a water droplet, a tooth, a dog, and lastly, a saw. I never seen a die like this in my life. What was it for? I couldn't figure it out. I decided that we would have to make do and assign the images numbers. As I walked down the attic stairs, I dropped the die. It rolled down the stairs and landed on the floor after hopping a few times. As I picked it up, I saw that a tooth was facing up, and I shrugged and walked towards my family. I would never recover from the sight that I see. There they were, on the couch of the game room, ripped to shreds with various markings on them, tooth marks to be exact. I heard a noise behind me as I analyzed the hell in front of me. I turned around to see the culprit. He was 7 foot and 3 inches tall, dressed in a suit that was ripped up in several places. He wore a bowler hat and had an absolutely massive head. The face was lacking a nose and had thousands of teeth and around 30 little yellow eyes near the mouth. The creature charged at me with its horrible mouth wide open. I dropped the die and grabbed a shitty pocket knife. I jabbed it in one of the eyes, but that wasn't enough to stop its pursuit. It tackled me as the die rolled away. As I braced myself for death, the creature vanished. Where has it gone? I looked to see the die had stopped rolling. It landed with the face standing up. I began to panic more as I heard the front door open and saw a man dressed as an executioner walking towards me calmly. I tested a theory I had at that moment and dropped the die as he walked my way with the rusty saw in his left hand. His right hand was holding a rope with a noose at the end. As the die stopped rolling, he disappeared. It landed on a smiling face. Out of nowhere, the most grotesque-looking man I ever seen entered with a smile drawn on his emotionless face. I dropped the die this time out of pure fear. The man vanished. It has been days now. Every time it lands, I have to roll, or else I will be hurt. A smiling man, a soldier who won't stop laughing, a living acidic slug, a toothy monster, a hellbound, and the executioner. I need to sleep soon, but I won't wake up. Hell is on earth, and it was awoken with the roll of a dice. My dog played with me, but not in a way that you think. My dog and I has always had a special bond. He loved me so much, and so did I with him. His name is Honey because he's always been sweet to everyone. One day when I got home from work, I was really tired. I wanted to take a nap, and so I did while cuddling Honey as always. I slept soundly for 4 hours straight, and then I woke up to the sound of my dog licking my elbow, but I was just too tired to do something about it, and I didn't even mind it. So I fell back asleep and slept for another hour and a half. I woke up again, and I couldn't feel my arm, and I was feeling a strange burning and absurd pain, but I was just really tired, so I let it go again and fell asleep some more. I didn't know how much time I slept this time, but I was in so much pain and I couldn't describe what I was feeling. I looked down to my arm where the pain came from. There was nothing left. My dog consumed my flesh as well as my muscle tissue from that arm. And now he's playing with my bone. London, 1983. It was a normal evening in Isabel's orphan asylum. The little ones were already asleep, or pretending to be, and the older ones were telling each other scary stories which were always the same ones. I never been included, and I never tried to listen to anything, but that evening, I decided to eavesdrop. They were talking about a terrifying story. They even said it was true, and what's more, they never told this one. It was about a famous violinist called Ryan Barney, who also was a string instrument maker, who was widowed at 31. After losing his wife, he decided to take a break from everything, including his string instrument business. He was very sad and disconsolate, or so it seemed. After a long time, he fell in love with another woman that lasted almost 7 years together. She had promised him that she would marry him and they would stay together for the rest of their days, but she didn't keep her promise. In fact, she confessed to him that she fell in love with another man. Ryan tried, but couldn't accept it. He thus decided to tie his girlfriend to a chair and torture her in atrocious ways until he convinced her to stay with him. Do you decide to leave? All right, but if I can't love you, no one else will. And you must love anyone but me. Have I been clear? Said the terrible man. She said she'd rather die than stay with him. So Ryan granted her wish. He wasn't satisfied. However, he therefore decided to take all of the shiny blonde hair of his partner that he liked so much and make the hair into the new bow for his violin with it. After some time, he decided to do it also with the hair of his previous wife that he killed too. After about a month, he fell in love with another woman who, however, rejected him. So he did the same with her too, and decided to sell the new bow and the previously made one with his first wife's hair. His sale then started again, and everyone believed that in addition to the instruments, the bows were special, and that there was something strange that made them so beautiful, but that no one could understand. Ryan did the same with all of the hair from his later girlfriend and became extremely rich. However, someone had began to think that the bows were made with human hair, so Ryan decided to make a run for it. His whereabouts are unknown. It's said that he now works in an orphanage in London. I decided that those brats knew too much about my story, but now I don't know what to do with their corpses. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free, and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.